In Assassin's Creed Origins, we cross paths with the legendary pharaoh Cleopatra. Her place in modern-day pop culture tells us she was beautiful, strategic, and had a strong power over men. But who was she really? How did she rise to power over all of Egypt, and what events led to her tragic death? To find all these answers, we have to go back over 2,000 years to the end of the Egyptian Empire. My name is Matt Black. Join me as we discover the truth of the last pharaoh of Egypt. This is the true history of Cleopatra. The name Cleopatra had been used by many Egyptian queens, but the one that we all know is Cleopatra VII, the last active ruler in the Ptolemaic dynasty, a family of Macedonian rulers who ruled Egypt for hundreds of years after the death of Alexander the Great. Cleopatra was born in 69 BC into the Ptolemaic dynasty. Her father was Ptolemy XII, while her mother is unknown but believed to be Cleopatra V. Cleopatra was well-educated, cunning, and ambitious, and it was at the early age of 14 where she got her first taste of power, when she became joint ruler to all of Egypt along with her father. Although at that age, her powers would have been severely limited. However, a few short years later, in 51 BC, her father Ptolemy XII died and made 18-year-old Cleopatra joint ruler along with her brother Ptolemy XIII. The first 3 years of their joint reign was difficult, with deficient flooding of the Nile, economic issues, famine, and of course political conflicts between the two rulers. Cleopatra did not intend to share power with her husband and brother, and had Ptolemy XIII's name dropped from official records and only her face remained on the coin, breaking the Ptolemaic tradition of female rulers being subordinate to the male co-rulers. Between the two, Cleopatra held all the power. In reaction to Cleopatra's dominant rule, Ptolemy XIII's advisors then began conspiring against Cleopatra, and in 49 BC they acted against her, removing her from the throne, ending her dominant rule. Cleopatra was forced to flee from Egypt to Syria with her younger sister Arsinoe IV. Even though Cleopatra had been exiled from Egypt and her brother Ptolemy XIII sat on the throne, Cleopatra was not about to give up her right to rule so easily. While in exile, Cleopatra gathered and raised an army of mercenaries, and 1 year later in 48 BC returned to face her brother's forces on Egypt's eastern border. Now during this time, Julius Caesar had arrived in Alexandria and was enraged with Ptolemy XIII, who presented Caesar with Pompey's severed head. Pompey was Caesar's political enemy but was still a Roman consul, an old friend to Caesar, and widower to Caesar's only legitimate daughter, Julia. Cleopatra, knowing she needed Caesar's support to reclaim the throne, took advantage of this opportunity and had herself smuggled into the palace, wrapped in a carpet carried by Apollodorus the Sicilian. It was at this first meeting that Cleopatra convinced Caesar to back her claim to the throne instead of her brother's, leading to the siege of Alexandria and the eventual defeat of Ptolemy XIII's forces during the Battle of the Nile. Ptolemy XIII drowned in the Nile trying to escape, and Cleopatra returned to the throne with her other brother Ptolemy XIV as her new co-ruler. During the time Cleopatra battled to reclaim her throne with help from Caesar, the two were not just political allies, but lovers. Cleopatra had become Caesar's mistress. Caesar even remained with Cleopatra in Egypt for some time after. 9 months after they had first met, Cleopatra gave birth to their son, Ptolemy Caesar, in 47 BC. He was known to the Egyptian people as Caesarion, which means Little Caesar. Cleopatra even wanted Caesar to make Caesarion his heir, but Caesar refused, choosing instead his grandnephew and adopted son Octavian, who would later become Emperor Caesar Augustus. Sometime in 46 to 45 BC, Cleopatra took Caesarion along with Ptolemy XIV to Rome to visit Caesar, who had returned earlier. During her time in Rome, Cleopatra stayed in one of Caesar's country houses just outside the city. As a foreign head of state, she was not allowed within Rome's boundaries. Regardless, the relationship between Cleopatra and Caesar was obvious to the Roman people and caused a scandal around the dictator, who was already married to Calpurnia. Because of this, the Egyptian queen was not popular with many in Rome. Cleopatra was still in Rome on March 15, 44 BC, the day Julius Caesar was assassinated. Shortly after Caesar's murder, Cleopatra returned with Caesarion and Ptolemy XIV to Egypt, where Ptolemy XIV died soon after, allegedly poisoned by Cleopatra herself. Cleopatra then made her 3-year-old son Caesarion her co-ruler and successor. With her infant son as co-ruler, Cleopatra's hold on power in Egypt was more secure than it had ever been. Cleopatra had become the sole pharaoh of Egypt. Cleopatra's rise to power was filled with conspiracies, bloodshed, and death. But what rises must also fall, and the events that were about to transpire would bring about the end of the last pharaoh of Egypt. What's up guys, thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, hit that like button, and if you're new, go ahead and subscribe. Now, if you have any friends who are fans of Assassin's Creed, go ahead and share this video with them, would ya? Because all fans of Assassin's Creed belong here. I have some great new content on the way, just for you. Until next video, Matt Black,